Díl Galéir, here in Ireland, we as teacher educators get rich insights into what makes teachers flourish in their work as teachers and as learners themselves. Our teachers flourish when they have pedagogical freedom to craft a learning environment that serves the educational interests of all. They know that the mind feeds on knowledge and grows accordingly. And while some of that growth lies within the knowledge domains that can be measured, a great deal is attached to the creative, emotional, and aesthetic knowledge. Not always easy to measure, but has shown itself to be so important recently when teachers' best plans to cover content and assess accordingly were scuppered. Because teachers do not flourish when they are frenetically racing to cover content. They don't flourish when they are worried about getting students to a destination rather than scaffolding and guiding them towards that definite destination. Teachers flourish when students have time to pursue curiosity, to engage in rich tasks where they must persevere with puzzlement, develop habits of thoughtful questioning, and realise that knowledge is created not always by having the right answers, but by asking the right questions. And our teachers flourish when they can stop, breathe, and privilege their own learning, and when they are the central actors in shaping that learning space, and where their learning needs are rooted in what they have identified that they want to learn. Here, there's no room for generic rubrics of what works. Our teachers tell us what works in the highly nuanced context of their schools and the complexity of pedagogical practice. And that's not surprising, because professional knowledge is produced by the very people who needed to solve a practical problem of their own. And with that comes the flourishing of ownership, when it is difficult to ask more of teachers than they ask of themselves. Our teachers learn and they flourish when they're supported to try something new. And that means being able to take risks and even make mistakes, so that the learning from those mistakes becomes their best teacher. Teachers here flourish when they can learn together, when they can connect, share, talk, and gain perspective, and together celebrate their victories, no matter how small.
All right, my name is Whitney Paul Joseph, and I'm a teacher here in a rural kindergarten to grade 12 school in the province of Saskatchewan. I have been teaching for 12 years and am our president of our local teachers association. So I feel like these experiences help provide a broad lens into what teachers need to succeed and flourish, not only through my own background, but being an advocate for our teachers as well. So first and foremost, educators need the opportunity to be heard. Feeling like you are valued and that your needs are being listened to is so critical to our profession. Teachers need to be heard on a personal level within the schools that they teach at, locally within their school divisions, and provincially within their ministries of education and governing bodies, so that those at the upper levels really understand what education looks and feels like to the educators that are working in the field. This opportunity to be heard leads to the need for adequate communication. When lines of communication are open between teachers and administrators, school divisions, and so forth, you can ensure that teachers' needs are being met. Teachers feel like they are being appreciated and that they are listened to, and it also provides an opportunity to educate and inform teachers about the decision-making and policies that do affect our day-to-day lives within the schools that we work in. As president of our local teachers association, I often hear of communication concerns. Many times it's just a lack of communication or inadequate transfer of information. Teachers need the opportunity to ask questions, address their needs and concerns, and to feel trusted. Adequate and open communication allows teachers to learn why things are the way they are in our world of education and how to best advocate for what we need to flourish as educators.
Thank you, Steve. It's afternoon here in Wales, so I will say Prynhawn da, good afternoon, everyone. Prior to COVID, I was privileged to visit multiple schools to have conversations about pedagogy and professional learning within the context of our new curriculum for Wales. Most conversations quickly moved to how can we support teachers in schools to engage in activity that would lead to the mindset shift that is needed for our purpose-driven curriculum. Our conversations often considered how the style of professional learning, professional development we had come to expect needed to change. What experiences do teachers need to empower them to have the confidence and agency to shape the learning and the curriculum within their own local context? How do we build positive, productive experiences that will allow teachers to flourish? The slide captures some of the thinking that needs to be considered. Despite the challenges of COVID, we have seen activity in many of these areas that has moved us forward in our thinking and practice. Teachers have talked about having the time and space to think collaboratively, problem solve together, and network. However, also how quickly this can potentially disappear again, unless we think differently and creatively, as some have started to do. Teachers have also talked about how they have been able to engage in activity with colleagues from other schools and also knowledgeable others that they wouldn't normally have access to, and how this has built confidence as they realize that their voice is being heard and is as important as others. Teachers have also talked about the opportunity to engage with a range of activities and input covering different aspects of pedagogy rather than being funneled in certain directions because of perceived pressures. Perhaps one of the biggest barriers to helping teachers flourish that remains across the system is the uncertainty regarding accountability and qualifications. Yes, you might say that it is the tail wagging the dog, but as Stephen Covey has always said, begin with the end in mind. To help teachers flourish, there needs to be a clear messaging regarding this. Is it really going to be different to how it has been? Are the qualifications going to reflect the purpose-driven curriculum? There are lots of teachers who need this messaging to come off the fence and give them the confidence to think differently and take risks. Perhaps most of all, to help us flourish, we need the resilience and innovation we have exhibited during COVID and use this to keep us moving forward together as a country to realise our new curriculum for Wales.
Hi there, thank you for having me. Hi everybody, it's afternoon in Scotland as well. It's great to be here. In Scotland this year we have a particular focus on embedding the values of social justice and integrity and equality within our teaching practices. Our General Teaching Council for Scotland has refreshed our standards that all teachers need to meet through their career with that particular focus. And in order to make teachers flourish within that particular area, I want to tell you about an initiative that I've launched recently. I am currently a primary teacher in Glasgow in Scotland. And what I've done is I've put together a practitioners network, which is specializing in the values of global citizenship education. It's specializing in the values of anti-racist education. And there are, of course, a lot of challenges in this, where many of our colleagues feel that they're not fully equipped to talk about these topics or to, in fact, teach them in the classroom. So in order to flourish, in order to build that confidence, I've launched a network which is bringing teachers from all over Scotland together to, in effect, help to build ourselves up together. So it's not about going to professional learning events and hearing from other professionals giving you the theory, but it's very much a platform where we as practitioners can share our good practice and our expertise to build each other up. It's about trying to listen to each other's ideas, and like others have said, it is a platform to make sure that teachers feel, educators feel that they are an important stakeholder in this process and their voices are being heard, but also that it's a safe place for concerns to be expressed as well. So it's very much about valuing our practitioners. It's very much about empowering them and developing their agency in collaboration with each other. In terms of our equality work, in terms of our race equality work as well within Scotland, I see it very much as a three-step process in which we really need to, we can't make these changes all in one go overnight. And it's about setting out a long-term process so that we are taking people with us. And so I really see the last year being an element of recognition for change. And hopefully the next couple of years will be about laying that foundation, building knowledge and skills. And I really hope that we are going to see a lot of teachers flourish in that aspect. Thank you.
Thanks for your time and attention, and good morning here in Uruguay. It's morning. Okay, so as you saw there, I'm from Uruguay, and our educational system has two major areas that need to be addressed for teachers to flourish. The most important problem that teachers face is that socially our work is not valued. This constant and progressive devaluation has made teachers question their own work. As teachers, we know that we are doing a great job during this pandemic. We have kept the system running, we developed students' learning skills, and we kept families involved. Also, in this time of change, we are moving towards a new teaching paradigm. And this change requires teachers leaving behind the idea of teaching a subject. Instead, we're starting to teach together as a team and addressing the student as a whole individual. This approach is completely different from the way that we were used to teach and also the way we were instructed. And to achieve this goal, we need effective and constant training in cooperative and collaborative work so we can provide our students with the skills they need for their future. So thank you.
Hi. I come sort of to this with a lens of curriculum design, I guess. And in Nova Scotia, we've tried really hard to make changes to our curriculum. And it's exciting to hear what everyone else is saying because it's so similar to what we have experienced. One of the things we know is that teachers, they know their children, their students, they know them as learners, and we want an inclusive and sort of whole student approach. But then we found that teachers felt like they had these curriculum documents that were very content heavy, and that they became these giant checklists that were weighing them down when they knew in their hearts and in their classrooms what students really needed. So one of the ways that we tried to sort of remedy that miscommunication between the curriculum and the students was to look at the skills and the doing of curriculum. So one of the things that has been a great focus for me is when we talk about curriculum, what are we doing? What is the do? And one of the things that we found when we talked to teachers was there were these verbs in every curriculum document that we have had for forever, but teachers didn't really, pay a lot of attention to those words. There was a lot of content in there, but those verbs about, how does a student investigate? What does create look like? And we really dove into that. And I think one of the things that is helping teachers flourish is telling them you have the freedom to decide on content, and the content becomes the vehicle for these, actions. What do we want students to be able to do? When we talk to teachers, their frustration is always in getting students to do things. And then we have these documents that are not about doing things, they're sort of about content. So one of the things we tried to do is develop what we called a skills continuum. So we had, developmental psychologists and teachers and all kinds of people work on this continuum for students of these skills. And what does it look like when you're 5? 2 minutes. What does it look like when you're 12? And they reach across all curriculum. So investigate in science is investigate in social studies. And it, I think, has allowed teachers to really sort of feel like they have more choice, but we're all kind of working on the same skills. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me. It's afternoon in Iceland now. I am a language teacher, and I prepared this as answering the question, what did I, as a teacher, learn during the pandemic? So no matter how well we prepare, in real life, one is never ready for everything. We are prone to focus on our students and wonder why it's so hard to get them to move out of their comfort zone. But the fact is that we ourselves find it hard to leave it too. It's comfortable, and above all, it's safe. So the experience of being forced with no or little notice to move from the safe classroom environment into the scary electronic class on Teams was a challenge and only accepted by force majeure. The job we as teachers have been doing for the past many years has developed, but rather slowly. I dare to say that school has not undertaken such a vast change in such a short period ever. In a question of days, we found new ways to engage our students through software, and I'm proud to say that most of us solved the task with flair. Teachers were forced out of their comfort zone into the learning zone. Some of us even felt that we had been thrown into the panic zone. We pulled through by helping each other and showing resilience. The odd days we were on the verge of throwing in the towel and saw no solutions and only problems. but luckily most days we felt optimistic and rather excited. So apart from learning how to use all these new software, what I personally take with me is this positive experience of bravery that has taught me that education is ready for a turmoil, and we need not be so careful and withholding about making changes. We shall, of course, act upon theories and academic results, but we must continue to show this bravery and make vital changes in schools to keep up to date in a leading position in society.